Hey guys, how you doing? This is Andrew Sims with the Sims Consulting Group, and on this Servant Leadership Sunday, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about counter-offering. A lot of times on this channel, we're focused on business, entrepreneurs, things like that. But everybody's not called to start their own business. But everybody is called to be gainfully employed, man. So during the employment process, one of the things that keep coming up, or people that I'm talking to that are going through the employment process now, being that people are getting back into the into the working field, or back into the the market, coming out of the pandemic phase and things like that. And something that keeps coming up is counter offering, because you send out your salary requirements and then they make you an offer, and a lot of times that offer is generally lower than what your salary requirements are. So a good practice that I put in place is I always counter offer. But there are a couple of rules and principles to the counter offer process that'll help you be a lot more successful, and these are some of the things that I'll go over. But because it's Servant Leadership Sunday, we want to incorporate some scripture in that too. So we're going to talk about 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 24 out of the Amplified Classic Version, because it brings it to life a little bit more. It says, "Let no one then seek his own good and advantage and profit. Let no one then seek his own good and advantage and profit, but rather each one of the other, let him seek the welfare of his neighbor." Right? So I'm going to read that one more time. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 24. It says, "Let no one then seek his own good and advantage and profit, but rather each one of the other, let him seek the welfare of his neighbor." So part of that is talking about, hey man, it shouldn't just be about you, right? You going to this table for this job shouldn't just be about you. It should be about what you can bring to the organization, right? And if you know your value and you understand some of these principles or things I'm going to teach you, then you should feel confident in your offer or your asking price or your salary requirements, right? So the first thing you want to do is you want to know what's the high, low, and medium market salary for your area. It makes no sense for you to be living in Colorado and looking at salary statistics from New York, or you be in Virginia and looking at salary statistics from DC. They're going to be skewed to your area because the cost of living in your area is different. So when you start putting these numbers out there, it's not an emotional thing. Remember, business is something that should be backed up by data, right? You should be able to reasonably explain your salary requirements and be able to stand behind your explanation because it's fact-based and data-driven, right? So you want to know what's the high, low, and median market salary for your area. What are people getting paid for doing what you do, in short, right? There's Indeed, there's a bunch, Glassdoor, there's a bunch of other things. There's some more reliable sources out there. But what are the job requirements, and what are people actually getting paid, entry level, midway through their career in this position, and what is expected on the high end of this salary? Because you got to fit somewhere in the frame. If people on average are making 80,000, you want to make 120, you're wasting your time. Nobody's going to ever pay you that much outside of the normal for that position. You just might as well be in another position, right? So it says, and the next one I have, not it says, but the next one I have is, where do you fit in? Where are you in terms of experience? Is this your first time? Because if it's your first time, you should fall somewhere between the entry and the median level salary, right? If you're more experienced and you've been in the position for 3 to 5 years, maybe more, then you should fit on the lower end. So you got to be able to relatively understand, where do you fit in terms of experience when it comes to this position. And then it says, does your service match your salary request? Are you able to do what it is they're asking you to do, right? It's one thing, and this is where the Bible talks about, understanding the advantage of, making sure that you're keeping the other person in mind. The other person in the situation is the company. Are you able to perform the tasks that are asked of you? Are you able to perform them proficiently? Do you need a lot of assistance? Do you need a lot of training? Because if you need a lot of training, although you may have experience, you're gonna produce entry-level results for this organization, right? So let's make sure that as you're going through this process and you narrow down, you got a position, you got an offer, that this should be done on the front end. But if you haven't done it, make sure that you're able to accomplish and fulfill the role that the job is asking you to fulfill. So make sure your service matches your salary requirements. And then the last thing is, be prepared to lose, right? The reason I say that is this, because if you truly go through these steps, right, and there's more in depth to that, right? You want to make sure, like I said, you know what the price is and what your jobs are, your expectations and things like that. But when you're able to truly stand behind your salary requirements. If they're not met, you may have to walk away. Because it's nothing worse than you going through all that explanation and understanding where you fit in and being lowballed. Because what's going to happen? What's going to happen when you get lowballed? You're going to get into this company. You're going to be there. You're going to take up valuable resources. They're going to take up your resource, which is your time, and you're going to be looking for another job anyway. Right? So you're not able to actually set in some build some footing in this company, because from the moment you started, you're going to be looking at other places because it doesn't meet your salary requirements. That's why it's important to know what your salary requirements are if you want to stay with the company long term and grow with that company. And if there's other ways you can work it out, because, okay, let's say you're going into a position where it doesn't meet your salary requirements, but the outlook, the 5-year outlook, the ability to move up the ladder, the other opportunities, the things you'll learn, the networking, all those things may supersede your salary requirements. So you may stay. Those are decisions you have to make as an individual, but it doesn't do you any service to get with a company and be looking to leave out in 6 months or 7 months or a year or whatever, because you know they never met what you needed as far as salary requirements at the front end. So you got to be prepared to lose. And it's not necessarily losing, but you got to be prepared to walk away from that deal. And that's in any negotiation. If I put my services out there, say this is what it costs for me to do X, Y, and Z. You want me to build a business intelligence system that's going to do A, B, C, D, and going to produce this result, that result, and it's going to give you this increase in your company overall. And I say, well, this is the price. This is what it's going to cost to do that. And here's why it's going to cost. And I break down that price. And you say, no, I want to lowball you. Well, I got to be prepared to walk away from the table, because my time is valuable. My skills are valuable. What I'm going to bring to the table is valuable, and I don't have time to be lowball. Now, there are offsetting things like, okay, is this the first job I'm going to do with this multi-company, this huge company that's going to lead to 7 or 8 more contracts, and I'll be able to make up the difference, right? Those are things that we'll discuss in a different video. But from this standpoint, you got to be prepared to walk away from the table, because once you lower the price, it's going to affect the relationship. And if they're not prepared to pay you what the market is saying that the actual position is worth, then you may need to find a better company, because chances are they may not be treating their other employees as well, and you may see a lot of complaints. And which brings another point. Make sure you do your research on an organization. People are talking. You can find out. Now, not every source is credible. You got to make sure that there's not a bunch of disgruntled employees, but do your research and understand, hey, why this, why did this position become available and things like that. But you want to make sure, what are people saying? Why are people leaving? Are people happy that work there? Do people hate going to work? Do you every time somebody wants to move up, do they get the opportunity? Do you always promote from the outside, and most of the people that work there don't get moved up? You want to know these things, because you're investing time and you're looking for a certain outcome, right? The salary is one of those things, but you're also looking for fulfillment. You're also looking for promotability, to be able to move up the ladder, or those types of things. So when you're in the counteroffer process, this is a great time for you to really, really, really understand what it is that you bring to the table, and why that connects to the salary that you're asking for. And then, like I said, if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Move on to the next. There are other companies, there are other opportunities that are willing to pay you a fair market value for the job that you're performing. So once again, this is Andrew Sims with the Sims Consulting Group. Y'all be blessed. Make sure you counteroffer and get all that you can, but make sure it's all that you can, and you can actually live up to what you're asking for. Peace, man. Y'all have a good day.